Hey, you guys remember that time when Patty shot and paralyzed Jack on his wedding day? Holy cow! Hey, everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, February 5th. I knew something was going to happen, but I did not know that was going to happen. On the end of last Friday's show, Patty got the gun, and in my head, she was going to go after Genevieve. Throughout this whole plan of hers, this whole plotting time of hers, she's been hating on Genevieve, cutting up, sheets and trying to kill her. And Y&R did that intentionally, I think, to throw us off, to make us think that Patty was going after Genevieve. But the entire time she was loving on Jack, trying to snuggle up with him by drugging him and just finding any occasion to be close with him. And I was not expecting her to shoot him. That didn't even occur to me. So it was such a wonderful shock. Like, Monday's show blew my mind. And I know you Canadian viewers, you guys who get to watch the show a day early, knew that was going to happen. And thank you for not telling me. Thank you for not spoiling. I have to admit that surprise that I felt on Monday's show is the reason why I don't like spoilers. I like to be totally in the moment. I like just going along for the ride. I don't want to know what's up ahead. I want to experience everything right as it's happening. And I totally did that. It was so good on Monday's show. Everything was building up to Jack and Genevieve's wedding day, and I knew something was going to go down. I mean, you have the whole element of Genevieve feeling guilty over her purchase of Beauty of Nature, and then you have the Patty element, and it was all just moving ever so slowly toward this climax. And oh my goodness, I was just so shocked. Little by little, the news started to come out about Genevieve's acquisition of Beauty and Nature, and it was Victor who initially found out about it. He, of course, had to go and tell Nikki, and on the day of Jack's wedding, Nikki goes over to Jack's house and starts to try to talk to him about it. Of course, because in Victor's mind, everything is all about the rivalry between he and Jack. So Victor totally assumed that Jack was in on Genevieve's plan to buy Beauty of Nature. He thought it was some big conspiracy against him. So Nikki went over there to try to ferret some information out of Jack, and she unwittingly spilled the tea. She spilled the tea all over the place. Totally making the light bulb go off in Jack's mind. Like, wait a minute. Genevieve owns FMN? And Jack's heart, I think, was so broken in that moment. Just the notion that she could have betrayed him like that was so hard for him. Yet he was still willing to go through and marry her. Genevieve, on the other hand, starts to realize that Jack is found out about this. He's not going to like it, and in fact, he's probably going to leave her anyway. So she starts to want to be the one to back off. She goes back home and writes Jack a letter, a Dear John letter, on the wedding day, and tells him that she's the owner of FMN. She accepts that they're not going to be able to be together. She puts the ring and a bracelet in an envelope, sends it via courier over to the church, and is getting ready to skip town. It was really, really sad. Just watching her write the letter and having to let go of this relationship that means so much to her, and knowing that she did something wrong. Just feeling like something that you love is going to be taken away from you, and that it's all your fault. It was a really, really terrible feeling. And meanwhile, everybody's congregated at the church, wondering where the heck Genevieve is, because Patty has intercepted the letter. And Patty has stolen Genevieve's wedding dress. And just the scene of Patty, everybody's wondering where Genevieve is, and out of nowhere, the doors kick open, the dun 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 music starts playing, and Patty is standing at the end of the aisle, just in all white. I mean, you could not see her face, you could not see anything. She was just this big puff of white that looked so ridiculous, with Jack standing at the end of the altar gritting his teeth. I mean, he's angry with her, but he was willing to work through it. He's thinking that it's Genevieve, and he's, you know, not happy, but he's willing to go along. And just, oh my God, as Patty gets to the end of the aisle, she faces Jack. Jack grabs the veil, pulls the veil up over Patty's face to reveal that it's her. And he's shocked for a minute. Patty has been playing this game with him of dressing up as Emily and pretending that that's who she was. So Jack's first reaction was, Emily? And Patty, oh my God, she just looked at him and said, it's not Emily, it's Patty, you bastard. She pulls the gun out and just shoots Jack right in like his, I think they said it was in or near his liver initially, and of course we all know that the bullet became lodged near his spine. So it was explosive. It was literally explosive. And I have to say that Peter Bergman was phenomenal this week. His shot face, like the face he made when he got shot, was so real. It was just like, I mean, it was so close to what my reaction was. It was just shocked and like, what the hell just happened, and pain. And Peter Bergman just played it so beautifully, and it was so like just intense. Jack is lying on the floor, bleeding potentially to death. His family is all around him. Billy is just trying to contain the bleeding. Of course, Tracy and Ashley are like beside themselves, and Patty's just angry, you know, and Tracy's saying, I'm not gonna let you do this to our family again, and Patty's just like, she's done what she's needed to do, and now she wants to run away. This is what she does. She shoots Jack and runs away, and it's not without irony here that Patty has shot Jack before. This irony is not missing on me. And she just realizes what she's done, and she wants to run away, and she kind of grabs Abby as a half-hearted hostage right before she leaves. Of course, nothing happened to Abby. Abby was like traumatized. She had a moment of, I think, trying to make it about her, but no. Abby was totally fine, and Patty got away, and she ran away, and all of the Abbotts are just huddled around Jack, wondering, is he gonna live, is he gonna die? And he eventually gets taken to the hospital. Everyone in Genoa City is congregated around the hospital, and Jack goes on to the operating table to try to save his life, to try to, I guess they were gonna remove the bullet. I don't think they eventually ended up removing the bullet, but he's on the operating table, and for a moment, he dies. Oh, you guys! Oh my gosh. What ensues is this sequence of Jack kind of being in this in-between worlds sort of point. It's not like heaven, but it's not earth, and it's on a boat. Jack, he finds himself on a boat in the middle of an ocean with a starry sky in the background, and John sitting in the boat right next to him. So there you go, you guys. Heaven is on a boat. Little did you know. And actually, more beautifully was that Jack and John were dressed to the nines. Like, Jack had on a full tuxedo, and I'm like, wow, that clears up so much for me. I had no idea. Heaven is black tie. Did you guys know? I mean, like, of course heaven is black tie. I love they're on a boat in full tuxedo talking to each other. It was a beautiful moment. I mean, you know I cried. I have been crying about Jack all week. But it was just so moving because, you know, Jack he's confused. He's like, where am I? Am I in heaven? Am I ready to go? Do I, you know, what's my next move here? You know, and he's telling John that he's just tired. You know, he's tired of failing. You know, this is his moment, his choice moment. Am I going to go back to life, or am I going to move on to the next one? And he's just realizing that he's tired and he kind of wants to give up. And John's there just coaching him along the way that John always did, even when he was alive. He was telling Jack, no. You know, you're not gonna die now. It's not your time. You've got stuff to do. So you just get on back there, Jack. You're not just gonna quit right now. So you just start rowing, boy, and make your way back to the shores of life. And that's what Jack did. But that little sequence was just, I really enjoyed it. You know, for as many times as Jack sees his father, and you know, which happens quite often, sees him from beyond the grave, I thought this one was really moving, really powerful. They did this kind of like forced perspective thing with the camera where you really felt like you were on the boat. You really felt like you were in the middle of the sea. It was very dark and just very dreamy, and I really totally loved and enjoyed that scene. And as soon as Jack got back into reality, it was much more gray. You know, I mean, he died on the operating table, and he comes back realizing that he's made this choice to come back to life. You know, it was his choice to come back, and he's come back to some unfortunate circumstances. The most glaring, of course, being possible paralysis. So Jack, I mean, we all know that Jack is gonna walk again, but for now, for the sake of being in the moment, Jack may never walk again. He is, you know, they're going through all these tests, they're poking his legs, and he's just not feeling anything, and it's just so moving. And by the way, I did wiki this before I decided to do my talk today, our chat today. I did not know this part. I knew that Patty had shot Jack in the past. Very dark. And I was not watching at that time, so let me preface with that. I didn't see this live or see this happening. But I just know, and I have known, that Patty shot Jack in the past. It was actually a situation where she was so upset that their marriage was falling apart, and Jack had been a jerk. He had married her only so that he could get a better position at Chabot, and Patty had overheard that their relationship was kind of a sham, and so she goes to Jack and she intends to kill herself. So she puts the gun up to her head and is ready to kill herself, and Jack's like, no, don't shoot yourself. He's feeling so guilty. He's like, just shoot me. And she's like, all right, ba-bam, and she shoots him. And Jack, apparently from that instance, wound up in the hospital with paralysis. So it's a weird kickback. It's a weird throwback. It's like, I mean, almost it's sort of strange that they're practically redoing the story word for word. I mean, no, I don't know. It's whatever. Whatever. Jack was paralyzed then. He's paralyzed now. But it's hard seeing Jack indisposed because Jack is such a strong figure. He's always been a strong figure, and it's hard to see him lying helpless in that bed. And Jack is the kind of guy that he's just always in control. He always, you know, he's got a business mind, and even when he's talking to the doctors about whether or not he's ever going to walk again, he's asking them, give me percentages, doc, give me numbers, give me hard figures. That's how he processes information. He wants to know what his chance is. Is it 40%, 30%? You know, what is it? Tell me. He needs to be able, that's how he processes things. And it's really tough seeing him struggle with this. It's tough seeing the family around him struggling with this. I mean, Billy feels awful. Billy feels like there's so much more that he could have done, even though he couldn't have done anything more. Ashley, I think, is just in shock. It was hard for her also seeing her daughter kind of getting ready to be kidnapped by Patty and this horrible situation with Jack. And Tracy is just running around being the amazing mother hen that she always is. She's always so rational and so loving and so caring, and Tracy especially was having a hard time with this because it smacked of everything that happened with Colleen. Patty was responsible for Colleen's death, and here Tracy is again in this situation where Patty has shot someone else in her family, and it's so hard for her, and it's just the emotions are running so high. And even Nikki is really stepping up and trying to be there for Jack in almost kind of like a surprising way. day. Because here we have, Nikki back together with Victor, and Victor, as we all know, is Jack's ultimate enemy, and Victor is he's being very cold on the Jack issue. I don't think it's that Victor doesn't care, but he is not going to, stand over, Victor's not going to be the one sleeping in Jack's hospital room all night, but Nikki was. And I thought that was a very interesting choice, because you would think that even Ashley or Tracy would have been hanging out in sleeping with Jack all night. But no, Nikki stayed the night with Jack all night. Slept in a chair in his room. And I just am kind of wondering, what is the relationship, with Nikki and Jack? Is that possibly going somewhere? I'm wondering almost if there could be a possible reunion for Nikki and Jack somewhere in the future. It's just, I thought it was, what do you guys make of that? What do you think about, Nikki's reaction to Jack's death? I think that Jack has always been a very stable figure in her life, and Jack has always been there for Nikki. No matter what she has run off and done, no matter how many times she goes back to Victor when Jack can see quite clearly the nature of their relationship, he has always supported her, and they've been through a lot together. Nikki and Jack have been married, they lost a child, and so there is a bond there, and I thought it was great to see her there supporting him. I was surprised. I really was surprised, but it's very, very good, and I think that it's going to be all of this awesome support that Jack has from everyone in his life that's going to help him get through it, because, at the very end of Friday's show, the doctors are telling Jack, look, it's probably not possible that you're ever going to walk again. And, you would expect Jack to be devastated, and I'm sure he is, but you would expect him to have a negative reaction to it, because he had said earlier in the week, is this what I came back for? I chose to come back. I chose to not die, and now I'm going to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. And something, I think, clicked in him. Just the words of his father just clicked with him, and he has decided, even though they're telling him that there's not much of a chance, he's seeing it as there's still some chance, there's still a little chance that I will walk again, and I'm determined to walk again. You're not going to tell Jack Abbott that he's indisposed forever. He's got this indomitable spirit, and that's the Jack that I love. He is at his best when he is overcoming something or when he's wanting something. I mean, he has just the spirit of John still in him, and he's still trying, and he's still fighting, and he's already, I'm sure, on the road to recovery. Well, everyone turned on Genevieve real quick. She was all tight with Tracy and Ashley, and she was just loving becoming part of their family, and in one moment, bzink, everything just turned. It was like a 180-degree difference. She was public enemy number one. Genevieve is public enemy number one, no question about it. I mean, starting with Kane. Kane was the first one to really figure out that Genevieve was the owner of FMN, and he realized that meant that she was keeping something from Jack, and Kane felt very, very betrayed by this. It's not enough that he was, privy to the knowledge that she had done something behind Jack's back, but now he felt let down again by her. He felt like he was just starting to trust her again, and she was letting him down. And Kane was not the only one that felt that way. I mean, Genevieve actually showed up at the hospital during Jack's surgery, and I mean, everyone in the room was like practically spitting venom at her. Tracy and Billy and Ashley and Abby was kind of cruel, and Nikki was really stepping up the charge. Nikki was like, you're a scumbag, and you could just get out of here. I mean, they basically told her, we're Jack's family, we care enough about him, so you can just get out. I mean, they practically kicked her out of the waiting room. And I, early in the week, I'm thinking, I can't help but be thinking, like, is it really that big of a deal that she bought Beauty of Nature? I mean, just let's isolate it. Let's isolate the incident and just talk about the fact that she bought Beauty of Nature out from under Jack. Is that something so terrible that it would make their relationship beyond repair? Is it really that bad? And I'm curious to know what your thoughts about that are. I just, in some ways, I feel like, wow, that it just feels blown out of proportion. Now, okay, setting aside just that incident, there is the larger issue that she lied to him about it. And that's where the sticker is. I don't totally understand why she didn't just tell Jack from the beginning that this is what she wanted to do. Why didn't she just partner with Jack? Now, she did explain herself a little bit on, later on in the week, and I will talk about that. But just me thinking of my reactions, I think she could have spun it so that it didn't appear so bad. I just don't think this had to be the end of their relationship. I mean, it was a betrayal that she lied. It's the lie that really bothers me, because I'm not mad at her for buying the company. I'm mad at her for the lie, and I'm mad at her for not trusting enough in their relationship that they would be able to work it out. That is the sad thing about it. They didn't really know each other that long. Jack and Genevieve have only been dating for a few months when they decided to get married. And maybe in some ways they just really didn't know each other well enough. And that's, I think, what really bothers me about Genevieve at this point, was that she turned tail and ran away as soon as things got hard. And that's not what being in a relationship is about. It's about working things out. And say what you will about the nature of Genevieve's relationship with Colin, they did stick with it for years and years and years. So it's surprising that she found this new love with Jack and just decided to run away from it when she made a mistake. Sometimes in a relationship you have to eat crow. I'm sure all of you know that. I'm sure you've been in that situation. Sometimes you're just flat out freaking wrong and you have to accept it. You have to own it. And Genevieve didn't do that. She unfortunately has this damaged goods vibe about her. She actually, for the first time, after weeks and weeks of her kind of sneaking around behind Jack's back about this Beauty of Nature deal, she opened up to Kane about her reasoning behind what she did. And it was so enlightening to me. She talked a lot about how the only way she knows how to have a relationship is by having that adversarial element. That's always how it was with her and Colin, and she in some ways naturally behaves that way as a result of years and years of that type of behavior. So she considers herself damaged goods, which is very, very sad, but she also really, I think, explained herself very well. Now she's involved with Jack, this person who is a brilliant, driven businessman. Not the same as Colin in the nature of the work, but in the nature of just their drive, their ability to make things happen. Jack and Colin are powerful men, so they're similar in that way. And Genevieve, as she explained it, she freaked out. She sort of began to see the future unfolding before her, and she started to see herself disappearing in the relationship, just becoming smaller and smaller, standing next to this hugely powerful man. And especially Jack, as someone who really puts his whole self into his work and his job. And she just saw herself becoming less and less important to him. So in some ways, she wanted to have Beauty of Nature so that she could have something of her own, but I do think in some ways she wanted him not to have it, because it would have meant less time, less effort that he would have put into their relationship. And can't you just see it happen? For as awesome as Jack is and as many great qualities as he has, can't you just see it happening that he would start to minimize her, you know, that she would just be waiting there when he got home and he'd be working all these late nights. And like, I can kind of see her taking a back seat, and she could see her taking a back seat. So as she's explaining herself, I really felt redemption for her. I really felt that it was a total explanation. You know, like, she's only human, and she has feelings too. And if anything, that made me like her more. I liked hearing her explanation. I only wish that she could have communicated that with Jack all along. That's what a healthy relationship is. You have to communicate all along the way. And if she just would have said that, then everything would have been different in their relationship. And unfortunately for both of them, where Jack is concerned, business is personal. It was Victor that made that point this week, and I thought, wow, he really nailed it there. You know, Victor's constantly trying to make the argument that it's just business, you know, that it's not personal, and that he's able to compartmentalize. But Jack really has never made any bones about the fact that business is personal for him. This was his family's company, and he's always felt that Jabot was a personal mission, and growing Jabot to include the Beauty of Nature line, it was something personal to him. And that's the reason why Jack was so offended, and Genevieve had to have known that. And frankly, she did let him go on and on about it. There were so many opportunities that she had to tell him the truth, and yet she stood by and she let him talk kind of like a fool. You know, the entire time using the knowledge that he had in order to make her position a little better. I mean, the whole time he's talking about when the bids are going to happen, and, you know, and what his bid was going to be. She knew how much he was going to bid. So she knew for certain that she was going to outbid him. So it's very, very bad of her. She really screwed up. You know, if she would have just been honest with him, all of this could have been avoided. And now I don't know if they're ever going to get back together. Jack is very bitter toward her right now, and that's totally understandable, but I don't know if he's going to forgive her. I certainly don't know if the family is going to forgive her. It seems that Genevieve has become more and more ostracized. Kane doesn't want to have anything to do with her. Jack and his family don't want to have anything to do with her. Colin's not around. She is alone. She is fully and completely alone now. The only thing that she has is Beauty of Nature. And meanwhile, this is all going on, and who is snaking around the scene but Victor? The woman just lost her relationship. Her fiance is now in the hospital bed, nearly died. She is grieving on so many levels, and Victor is using the situation to cozy up to her. It was so Victor-esque. It was, I mean, he's always the manipulator. He's never not thinking. Victor totally used the situation to get in close with Genevieve. He goes to her house. He's given her information about Jack. Like, oh, I'll watch after Genevieve. It's okay. You're safe now. Patty won't hurt you now. And here, I'll come and give you an update on Jack's condition, just so you know. Oh, and by the way, if you decide to sell Beauty of Nature, you should sell it to me. You should bring Beauty of Nature under the Newman umbrella. It's for your own good. I can offer you protection. Little woman who doesn't know anything about business. I know business, and it's in your best interest to give that company to me. It was so transparent, and Genevieve almost looked like she was gonna fall for it. But in the end, she decided not to. She told Victor where he could shove it. I mean, really. He tried, I think, I don't know why he didn't just offer to buy it back. I mean, but then again, this is a woman who doesn't need money. He never really made a full argument about what bringing Beauty of Nature under the Newman umbrella would have done, would have benefited her, so I don't really know about that. But she decided not to do it. You know, she realizes that she only has this business. She sacrificed everything for this business, and so now she's going to keep it, and she's not going to let Victor have it. And I say, go girl, you go girl, you know, don't let him have it. Victor's got enough going on. And the other way that Victor has snaked his way through this situation. This I found quite appalling. Jack is in surgery. They do not even know if he is going to be alive or not, if he's going to live through the surgery. Victor walks up to the family, the whole family, Tracy, Ashley, Billy, and he tells them he's very concerned about Kyle. And if they need help, if anyone, oh God, this galls me. If anyone needs help, Victor is offering to go get Kyle from boarding school. He's offering to let Kyle stay with him. If something happens to, he implied that if Jack dies, Victor wants Kyle. First of all, as if you would ever get Kyle. There's Tracy, there's Ashley, there's Billy. There's plenty of people who all would be available to take care of Kyle. Victor is an outsider. Victor, I think Ashley, who has always been an advocate of Victor, just turned around and said, look, if something did happen to Jack, the last thing he would want would be for Kyle to be with you. That's ridiculous. Why would he not go to one of the sisters? He has so much family. It's like Victor, he just thinks because he's Victor Newman that he can waltz right in and get whatever he wants, and we all know damn well that he wants Kyle. Now, this is, I think, where the custody situation possibly finally starts to come in, because Victor technically has custody of Kyle. That storyline, that part of the storyline got dropped off a little bit for a while, but now that Jack is kind of indisposed, I wonder if Victor's going to play that card. I wonder if now Victor is going to try to have the custody invoked and possibly bring Kyle back to live with him or try to live with him. And what kind of role is Nikki going to play in this? You know, Nikki is becoming more and more close with Jack. Is this something that's going to drive a wedge between Victor and Nikki? Of course it is. And I gotta tell you, if that is where they're going, oh, I love it. I really, really love it. Like, if I want to see Kyle again. That's the part of the thing. I really like that child actor. I think he's very talented. He is very interesting to me. And so I think that if they brought Kyle back and kind of in this sort of forced ward sort of situation where, you know, Victor's trying to be a father to Kyle and Kyle doesn't like it, I think that would be interesting to watch. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Do you guys think that's where this is going? I mean, I have to say I have been so annoyed with YNR lately for bringing up storylines and then dropping them. But if this is how they've been weaving it all along, bravo. As if Victor didn't already have a son to worry about. Yes, Jack was not Patty's only victim. Adam actually tried to stop Patty's rampage before it even happened. He knew that the potting shed was her secret little hideout place, so he goes there to try to stop her and tries to talk some sense into her. You gotta give him that. He really was like, look, Patty, it doesn't matter if you kill, and even, like, it's so funny because Adam assumed that she was gonna kill Genevieve too, so it was all like a sort of a swap. It was meant to shock us that Jack got shot, and that's so awesome. But, you know, Adam said to her, it doesn't matter if you kill every woman that Jack's ever looked at, he's still not gonna love you. So Patty is infuriated by this. She has had a really interesting relationship with Adam this entire time, and now Adam is kind of giving her this final insulting blow, and she decides, I think out of instinct, turns around, grabs this like bucket of insecticide, throws it in Adam's face, and Adam's all, my eyes! That's my reenaction of that moment. My eyes! Adam falls to the ground, and then just to finish the job, Patty smacks him over the head with a 4x4, and Adam's out. He's like out cold, bloody, and on the ground. And fortunately, Sharon was out walking the dog, and the dog wanted to get in the potting shed. Sharon goes in there. She finds Adam on the floor and calls the paramedics. He gets taken away to the hospital, and now he is in a similar situation to Jack in that he is not able to see. He is finding himself blind. And the doctors are telling him that he may never see again. And it really is quite unfortunate because Adam was trying to do something good, and he got caught in a bad situation and ended up potentially losing his eyesight forever. But the thing is, I like Adam. You all know that I like Adam. But he kind of got what he deserved. And Adam, I think, realizes that he's kind of getting what he deserved. It's becoming a dark world for him. He's not able to see after having seen. He got his eye implant or whatever it was, cochlear implant or something that helped him to be able to see for the past several months, and now all of a sudden the world is dark again, and that's very, very difficult for him to get a handle on. But he has even said as much as that it's karma. He realizes that he kind of is getting what he deserved. Because, first of all, he knew Patty was in town. He knew this entire time that Patty was in town, and he did nothing. He could have told the truth, but he didn't want to because he knew that meant that he would get in trouble. He was the one that helped Patty escape from the mental hospital in the first place. And now she's in town. She's obviously a loose cannon. And it was fine with Adam if Genevieve or Jack got hurt. He knew she was there. He knew that she was sneaking around. He knew that she was inside Genevieve's house pretending to be her housekeeper. So he knew that it wasn't a benign situation, and he did nothing about it. So in his mind, it's like, well, as long as it's not me getting hurt, then it's no problem. And at the end of the day, he was the one that got hurt, and he deserves it. I am sorry. I love Adam. I freaking love Adam, but he got what he deserved. What he's deserved. I don't want him to stay blind, and I think we all know he won't stay blind. But in the meantime, I think that this is going to draw Adam and Sharon even closer, which is a good thing. He's going to be relying on her. Sharon is going to be his seeing eye dog. He's going to be needing her, and Sharon's got nothing else to do. So I'm pretty sure that this is really going to draw them back together. And Sharon is trying very hard to use this as a situation also to bring Victor closer to his son. Victor cares. He doesn't want to admit it, but he cares that his son is in the hospital and that he's unable to see. And I'm sure on some level Victor feels guilty for not protecting Adam the way he should have. Victor made a promise to Hope on her deathbed that he would always look out for Adam, and instead he tried to set him up, tried to send him to jail forever. And I realize that Adam drew the first blood. There's no question. In this war between Victor and Adam started it. Adam came into town with a chip on his shoulder, and he wanted to get back at his dad. And you can't say that Victor didn't try to give him opportunities. Victor did try to give him opportunities, but at the end of the day, Victor is the father. Victor needs to be the responsible one. He needs to be the parent, and he hasn't done that. Victor has failed at that. He has let Hope down in that way. And so I think Victor does feel guilty. And so Victor, unbeknownst to anyone, helped to fly in this other surgeon to look at Adam. And so that's a gesture that, that Victor doesn't want Adam to suffer physically. He was perfectly happy to let him sit in a jail cell probably for the rest of his life, but he doesn't want the guy to be blind. And that's sort of the rest of the family's reaction to it as well. Nick is like, look, I don't like the guy, but I don't wish him any physical harm. And unfortunately, that's what he has gotten. And I can tell you that Adam, with certainty I can tell you, that Adam is going to be playing the victim for as long as he possibly can. I think that Adam sees himself as a victim of the Newman family. He sees himself as a casualty. He was not the wanted son. He's not Nick. He was never going to be Nick. And so in his mind, I think he always has been the victim, and I think he's going to continue to pork it up for as long as possible, especially if that means that he's going to be closer with Sharon. That doesn't mean, though, that I don't think that he's genuine in some ways. In some ways, I think that this is going to be a fresh start for Sharon, and that's a conversation that they had with each other. Sharon told him, look, you don't have to get your eyesight back in order to have a fresh start. This can be the new beginning. I think that there was a moment in the hospital bed where Adam realized that he is his own victim. He is a victim of himself. it was karma that he's getting what he's getting now. And so I do think that this could possibly be a new beginning for him. And by the way, I just have to say, Michael Mooney says more with half his face bandaged up than some of the other actors can say with their whole face. You know, he is so expressive. He had bandages all over his eyes and, you know, half of his nose, and you could just see his lips quivering as he's realizing that it's his own fault. It was powerful. It was very, very powerful. And just seeing Sharon there with him, now that she's got her annulment from Victor, there's no reason that she can't be with him completely. And so I think that she's going to be there as his little nurse, and that he is probably going to play it up as much as possible, especially now that the doctors have told him it's kind of pretty much looking like it's irreversible. You're going to be blind. And I'm really looking forward to next week, because Victor, in another show of you know, support that he doesn't want Adam to know about, Victor owns Hope's farm. Adam ended up selling it apparently a couple of years ago, but Victor bought it up, and Victor has gone to Sharon and suggested that she take Adam there, which is such a good idea. So as soon as Adam's released from the hospital, I'm so excited. Sharon's going to take him back to Hope's farm. And I think the reason why it's I've said this a million times, but the reason probably why it's particularly sentimental to me is because that is when I started watching the show. It had to have been 95, or I think it was the summer of 95, when Victor ended up on Hope's farm. And I love the set. I love the story. I've always felt that I mean, it's special to me because it was my first storyline, but it's special to me because I thought it was a compelling storyline. Victor falling in love with a blind woman and helping her and trying to bring her back to his world, and she didn't fit. And her ended up going back to the farm where she was most comfortable, and the element of the sun, and worried that the sun wasn't going to be able to see, and now the sun can't see. That's hard on Victor. That's hard on Adam. Totally looking forward to him going back to the farm, especially since, like, there's, I think in Victor's eyes, this sort of comparison to be made between Sharon and Hope, and Sharon is the only woman I think that Adam has ever loved besides his mother. And so we also know that Signe Coleman, who plays Hope, is going to be coming back onto the show. I don't know if it's next week, it might be the week after, but she is going to be reprising her role, and probably having a talk with Adam. It's gonna be so good! I'm so excited. So we'll get to see the set, we'll get to see Hope, and hopefully we're gonna get to see kind of a little redemption moment for Adam. Poor Patty. It's, you know, it really, I can't believe I'm saying that after she gets shot Jack, but it is Paul that redeems Patty. If it weren't for Paul, Patty would not have this sweet element that she has. She looks up to Paul. He's her hero. And Paul remembers a time when it wasn't always like this. He remembers a time when they were kids and things were happy and his family wasn't torn apart. I just have so much empathy for Paul this week. And his brother Todd came into the picture this week and, you know, was trying to help Patty, and they're all coming together for this family moment, and they're singing these songs together, and just, it makes me feel for Patty. And I mean, especially this week after she was captured, she was apprehended, and she was in a cell, and Genevieve tried to come and visit her, of course, because Genevieve wants some answers. She wanted to confront this person who had been living with her under an assumed name, really all the while conspiring to ruin her life. And Genevieve saw that Patty was not well, not with it. I mean, Patty just has these moments of full clarity where she makes sense and she seems like a total normal person, and then there are these moments where she is regressed almost to just childhood, and she's just singing songs, and she's a little girl, and she can only be a little girl, and she sees the world around her as if she were a little girl, and it just makes me feel bad for her. And before I go any further, I have to say that Stacey Haddock did just such an amazing job pulling off the climax of Patty's revenge, and also doing the dual role with Emily. It really is brilliant. Stacy makes me like Patty, and I shouldn't like Patty. Not only because of the things that she's done, but also because I'm not normally a fan of these whacked out storylines. I've never particularly loved even the Sheila storylines with Lauren. I like a good storyline about life and love and business, and that's kind of more what I'm into. When it starts to get outrageous with these crazy characters, it starts turning me off a little bit, and it definitely has turned me off, like, throughout the past month. And in the past, the last time Patty tried to hook up with Jack again, when she ruined his relationship with Emily, that still wore on my nerves a little bit. But then they show these moments of tenderness with her, and I just feel so bad for her. She's, in one moment, she is so vicious, and then in the next moment, she's so sweet and just seems so harmless. And that's, I think, why she's a compelling character, because she has those two polar opposite edges of her personality. And so it was really, I enjoyed it this week. I enjoyed watching her this week, and I enjoyed Paul this week so much. But I'm going to tell you, I am surprised that I feel this way, but probably of the whole week, everything that happened, even with Jack, even with Adam, the thing that really, really I have been interested in this week is Ricky. Now, I have been not interested in Ricky since he came onto town. I'm like, oh, this guy's ugly, he's weird, I don't like his face. He's a scumbag, what's he doing sleazing around town? This week, that little son of a gun has started to pique my interest, because he has issues. And there was this scene where Ricky followed, he got the inside scoop and figured out that Patty would have gone to the parish to visit her brother Todd. He figured that out before Paul did, before Ronan did, and he got there before both of them did, and he found her hiding out in this attic, this dark, cobwebby attic. And he starts to talk to her, and the conversation was just so damn compelling. I mean, it really, really had me. And the whole time I'm trying to figure out Ricky's angle. Ricky is talking to Patty. He's telling her, I'm your nephew. Hi, Aunt Patty. And he's being real nice. He's being real, just subdued with her, and even as she's a very volatile person, he's apologizing if he's made a mistake and assuming, where she was in her mental haze, and they start to have this bond. Patty and Ricky start to connect, and it's through this scene that Ricky starts to open up a little bit, and we start to learn about his character a little more, and he tells her that you remind me of my mother. Now, I'm not sure how many of you were watching when Paul was involved with Isabella, but Isabella was a few clicks off as well. She was this crazy person. She tried to kill Christine. And so that darkness and also that religious element, which I really enjoyed. I liked having the religious element played in there, and that pull between good and evil that Patty has going on in her soul. She is indeed a tortured soul. She feels very strongly connected to God and her religion, and on the other hand, she has this dark evil side. She knows the darkness. So that is a characteristic that really, really harkens back to Isabella. And so Ricky saying, you remind me of my mother. There was this moment where I felt that he was connecting with Patty, and I felt that it was a little bit of a window into his soul, that he has that same darkness too. That whatever his reasons for being there were, that were revealed later on in the week, he knows that darkness, and he has that capacity too. And that is compelling to me. That really, really it drew me in, because Ricky, for as much of a scumbag as he is a human being too. And he has problems too, and he's starting to open up to Patty a little bit. And even though it becomes revealed later that he's sort of tricking her, he's manipulating her, I feel like there was some grains of truth in what he was saying. He was telling her that I know how it is to feel misunderstood. They connected on that. They had that moment of looking at each other like, we know what it is to have other people not understand our intentions. And Ricky said, I have a sister who hates me, my mother's locked up, and she was always sick when I was growing up, and my father doesn't really want to have anything to do with me. And you can sense that. I do believe that Paul tried to make a connection with Ricky, but maybe not that much. Maybe not that much. And maybe Ricky feels abandoned. Why did Ricky go to live with his grandparents? Why didn't Paul raise him? And Ricky also, when he came into town, he had suppositions about what his what Heather's life was like, even saying, you probably had a great childhood and I was raised by my grandparents. So Ricky clearly feels that Paul abandoned him, that Paul didn't pay enough attention to him. So there was just this little opening, into his soul, and showing also that he has that sort of battle between good and evil going on inside of him too, and I liked it. Like, I was so in that moment, and I was like, oh damn, if Ricky turns out to be like Patty, that would be awesome. Like, I was so interested in that moment, and then Paul and Ronan and Todd end up walking in on this situation right when they're connecting, and Ricky sells her out right away. Right away, he's like, oh, well, I just found her. I just got here like 5 seconds ago. This is her, right? And he just sells her right down the river, and she looks at him like, dang, really? So that disappointed me, because I almost wanted Ricky to help her get away. I wanted this dark moment of him like thinking that he was, she was like his mother, and it was still there, and it was still great, but I was sad to see him turn as soon as he could. But he's got that crazy gene. Both, obviously this crazy gene of Patty's is on the Williams side of the family, and frankly, I always thought Mary was freaking weird. I never liked her ever, the mother, Paul's mother, with her spare ribs and sauerkraut, shoving them down all the kids' throats. That's probably what it did it. Probably there's some sort of agent after years built up residue of sauerkraut and spare ribs that have made Patty freaking crazy. And then on Ricky's mother's side, Isabella's crazy too. So, he's got it. He's got it going on there. And it did definitely disappoint me a little bit, after all was said and done, to see Ricky show up at Phyllis's doorstep to tell her, I got a scoop. I've got a story. I talked to Patty, and it's going to be a great story. It's going to be a Pulitzer Prize winning story. And he tries to convince Phyllis to let him write an article about his, interaction with Patty and how the connection of the, for the murder mystery. And Phyllis is like, no. First of all, I'm friends with Jack, and I'm not going to do that. And second of all, that would blow your story, kid. You said that you were only in there, you found Patty quickly, but you were in there, you were interviewing her, you were prodding her for information, interfering with an investigation. So this is not a good idea. Now, at the end of the day, Ricky told her, all right, we won't write the story, consider it dead. But you know damn well he's going to go back to Restless Isle and publish the article, which is exactly what Phyllis would have done in another day, in another time. And yet, or if he doesn't do it with Restless Isle, he's going to do it on his own. But Ricky is not going to let this go. One thing you can tell from him is that he is a driven individual. He wants recognition. And again, I will say, he reminds me of Adam in that way. He's got that chip on his shoulder toward his father, and he's got something to prove. And even later on, Ricky goes to visit Patty in her cell, and Paul is there, and there's this very tense moment between father and son. There's actually was a couple of tense moments where Paul knew something was up. He knew that Ricky had no other reason to be there than if he was up to something, and Paul recognized right away that Ricky was lying, and Paul called him on it, and Ricky tried to make Paul feel guilty about it, but at the end of the day, I think Paul realizes that there's something off about his son, and Paul is going to, I think, start to internalize that, start to feel very, very guilty about that, and I don't know what this means about the nature of this relationship between father and son, but I think I'm opening myself up to it. I didn't feel that way before. I feel that way now. I'm kind of interested to see what Ricky's going to do, what role he's going to play, and I hope that it brings Paul onto the scene a little more. I miss Paul. I would love to see more of Paul, and I love the idea that he has this dark, dark bird of a son. So Patty has been apprehended. Deacon is in jail, and that pretty much wraps up the Diane murder mystery case that we've talked about for so long that I really don't care if I ever talk about it again. And pretty much everyone is off the hook now. Ronan made phone calls to most of the people who were arrested last week to let them know that they were off the hook. So it seems like everyone's off the hook now, except Nikki. Damn! I'm hoping in my heart of hearts, I'm just hoping this whole thing is going to be over. It's just been going on too long, and I don't want to see Nikki go to jail. I was surprised that some of you guys were hoping that Nikki would go to jail. You want to see Nikki pay for killing Diane, or maybe you want to see her pay for some of her past transgressions, but I don't want to see it. Not only do I not want to see Nikki go to jail, I don't want to talk about Diane anymore. I have obviously found the whole thing to be very disappointing. I have to give YNR props for wrapping up the loose ends, eventually, but the fact still remains. In July, when all of this went down, neither Nikki, nor Patty, nor Deacon were on the scene at the time. There's just no way around that. They started this murder mystery acting like all of these different people were possible suspects. Ashley and Tucker and Abby and Jack and Victor and Victoria and Nick. And it turns out in the end it was none of them. Nikki, Deacon, and Patty all were the answer. They were the solution. It was between those three that we found out exactly what happened to Diane, and in the end, none of them were on the scene when she died, and it bothers me that storyline was not figure-outable. Perhaps some of you were able to figure out, but it just sits with me, it sticks with me, and I just can't seem to get past it. So I hope to God this is the last time I talk about it. That's why I wish, Ronan told Nikki at the very end of Friday's show that she's the only one that's not off the hook. Maybe that just means that she's going to get a manslaughter charge or an involuntary manslaughter charge or something like that, because I have a feeling that this is going to be Ronan's last act. He, as we all know, sadly is going to be leaving the show. So I'm kind of going to hope that this is the last thing he is going to be doing, and is wrapping up this, whatever, closing the book, letting it finally be over with. And next week, from the previews of next week, it looks like Ronan is going to start to wrap things up with his family, too. I think Nina's going to show up, and they're going to have a little bit of a talk, and I, for one, just think, finally, I feel like the relationship between Ronan and Nina should have been woven in through this entire thing for months. That should have been primary. We still don't totally know what happened when he left town with the liver. We still don't know what the deal is with his with his parents, his adopted parents. So there's still a lot of questions there, and I don't think we're going to get them wrapped up this time, but I think that the door is still open for Jeff Branson to come back to the show, so you never know. The door is open. We're going to keep our fingers crossed. Maybe the relationship between he and Nina is something that we can explore a little more next time. I think maybe I should wrap up here just by talking a little bit about the couple of romantic connections that have happened this week. Kane proposed to Lily, and she said yes, of course. And it was very cute. They decided to go to the park, and they were sitting on a bench just talking about their kids and the cute little things that the babies are doing. And just every time Kane says the babies, it's so cute to me. They're always talking about the babies, and I don't know, there's something just really adorable and hot and sexy about that, and I'm happy about it. They had this little snowball fight, and we've seen a lot of cutesy scenes between Kane and Lily throughout the past couple of weeks, so it's probably just been building to this, but Kane proposed, she said yes, and I'm for it. I think that as long as Kane is honest with Lily, then I have no problem with their relationship, and Kane was upfront with Lily about what was going on with Genevieve. There was an opportunity there for him to lie. He certainly could have lied. When he found out that Genevieve was the owner of FMN, he could have gone out of his way to keep the truth from her, but instead he just told Lily up front what the problem was, how he felt about it, and that, sorry, we're not going to the wedding. I mean, he totally bailed out of the wedding, and Lily was going to be her maid of honor, and Lily went along with it. And not only that, but Lily was there to support him and help him talk through what his feelings about his mother were. And as a result, Cain has decided to eliminate Genevieve from his life, which I think, again, is sad. He did a really good job of standing by her one last time against the Abbotts. He was mad at her for what she did to Jack, but when she went to the hospital and everybody was attacking her, Cain was there like, hey, why don't you cut it out? Let's put this in perspective here. And she's not the enemy. She didn't do this. She didn't shoot Jack. So Cain did a really good job of defending her, but then in the end, he decided that he had to cut her out of his life. He feels continually let down by her, and maybe he has a right to his feelings. He has a right to his actions. So it's just too bad, honestly, because I was kind of hoping that now that Genevieve owns Beauty of Nature, that maybe Cain could have gotten a job from her, because I'm kind of getting tired of seeing him work at the bar. I feel like it's time for Cain to do something a little more interesting and to see some storylines that don't just revolve around him lying to Lily. I hope that's where this is going. I would like to see their relationship work out this time. There are a lot of Lily and Cain fans. I know some of you guys find them boring, but I like them, and I do hope that it works out for them this time. Now, similar note, Phyllis and Nick, trying to make it work out. They've had a long, bumpy road, and they are really trying to assess their relationship now, which is exactly what I was asking for. I like Phyllis and Nick together. They have a very hot chemistry. The problem with them, for me, has always been that they don't talk about their problems. They don't really resolve what the issues in their relationship are, and so they keep happening. And I feel like that is getting better now. They're actually talking about things. They're taking things slow, and they're not having sex. It's not just about sex. When Jack ended up in the hospital this week, I think Phyllis, that made her realize how much she loved Nick. What if that was me in the hospital bed? What if that was you in the hospital bed? And that started, to kind of put things into perspective for her. And so she and Nick kind of had a talk about it, and they're deciding to take things slow, but they have realized their commitment toward each other, their love for each other, and, they're renewing kind of their commitment together, I think, slowly. And I'm sure we're going to see probably, I would not be surprised if Phyllis and Nick got engaged here within the next few weeks. They have the kids together. They're very good with the kids. Summer made them a cute little Valentine this week and gave them identical little cutout paper hearts and said, they're because your hearts are the same. And that was cute. They have a family, and if they want to be together, I want them to be together. And it seems like Avery is out of the picture for now, so I can't believe Phyllis is forgiving him for that, but she's out of the picture for now, so I don't know if she's going to continue to be a problem in their relationship, but I'm sure that she's not gone from the scene for long, because we have also learned that Phyllis's dad has been cast. So he's going to be coming onto the scene, causing problems probably with both of the girls. Who knows, maybe Avery will be the one to get him off the hook. But either way, any way you slice it, the dad coming back onto the scene is going to be explosive, and Phyllis is going to need Nick's support for that. Okay, well, that's going to do it for me for this week. Those are all my long-winded opinions about the show. What are your opinions about the show? How do you feel about the storylines? Please leave me a comment. And also, the other thing that we haven't talked about lately, I've talked to a lot of you. I've known you for like 4 years. It's kind of a long time. And I'm curious to know how long you all have been watching the show. Because I love talking with people who are veteran viewers that have watched the show from the beginning. That's always thrilling for me to talk to people who have watched it from the beginning. I admire that. I'm like, wow, I wish I'd been watching it from the beginning. That would just be so awesome. Of course, then again, I don't remember storylines. I'm sure you've realized. I don't remember. That's how I am in life, too. I have a hard time. I do not have a short-term memory. I cannot, or a long-term memory. I don't know. I can't remember stuff. Like, I'm very in the moment, I'm very present, and, you know, I like to give an analysis, and I'm in deep for everything that's going on with the show, but I can't remember storylines, even things that happened recently, I don't remember them, but still, I have been watching the show since, like, 95, and I'm curious to know how long you guys have been watching the show, even if it's just a couple years or a couple months or whatever. Leave me a comment and let me know so I can start to associate how long you guys have been fans for, because I love talking to people that haven't been watching for that long either, and that also helps me kind of you know, make sure how much I need to explain things, or if I need to do a little bit more back history. There are some things I remember. Alright, well, I've talked for long enough. It's almost shocking to me that I can sit here and talk for an hour about the show. But there's like 5 hours of material that I'm condensing into 1 hour of chat. I don't even know if anybody watches this all the way to the end. If you're watching this all the way to the end, I feel like you should leave me a code word in the comment box below so that I can know who the loyal to the end people are, the people who will be at my funeral. That was dark. I don't know why. Ricky's getting inside my head. Why don't, if you're watching this all the way to the end, leave me a comment that says, I don't know. Leave me a comment that says Ricky is getting inside my head. Just leave it in the comments box down there. It's our code. We'll all know who the real chatters are. Oh my goodness. I think that's it. I'm ready. It's been a long week, but I love watching my YNR. I look forward to it. It's been like busy all week, and then toward the end of the week I start watching the show and start watching YNR, and it helps me. It helps me to compress, to decompress, helps me to relax, and then I'm always looking forward to watching it and chatting with you guys about it. So I'll be back next week to do the same. No matter how crazy next week will be, I will be back here to enjoy our chat together. So everybody, don't forget to leave me a comment. Looking forward to hearing from you, and we'll talk next time. All right? Okay. Bye.